So here it is at last. Months and months. I think I started this in November, didn't I? So yeah, the front panel, the first prototypes arrived, as you can see, and I'm really pleased with it. I'm surprisingly pleased, but I didn't actually think I'd get. I thought there'd be loads of mistakes, but no, it's pretty much fine. I mean, there is some things that are going to change, which I'm going to go through at the moment. But yeah, so now this is made with a process called SLS, which sintered layer injection. Oh, sintered layers. Oh, I don't know. It's a nylon process, basically a nylon powder, and then a laser goes through and it removes a layer and then fires a laser on it, and then it solidifies it and then removes another layer and so on. That's how it works. But it's or adds a layer probably. But it's the thing about it is it's very fine quality. Now it's still not as good as injection molding. There's a slight ripple on the surface. I mean, theoretically, I could run it with sandpaper over it, which I may do. I am going to get this sprayed because ideally I want it black. So you can see one of the other parts that arrived is an adapter. Now, see if you can spot a mistake here. Look. Out of all the ones I forgot to put the mounting tab on the bottom. Stupid. Anyway. So let's show you a couple of bits, shall we? So you've probably seen this. Now this is the LED. Now the board has been designed by, designed. I obviously laid the board out to match my sizes and so on. Then he did all the electronics for me. Did it really nicely. In fact, I love all the silk screening on here. Looks great. But we have on here LEDs for the PC and PC and the Amiga. So they needed different connections. So the Amiga LED is here, which is power LED, and then there's the. It's a very good point because I can't read this. There's the HTTP and power. Yes, so there's a separate one for the power, but they both share the same hard drive connecting connector. And I followed the Amiga's color scheme, so there's green for power and yellow for. Now people say, well, why not red? Well, no, because the 3000 didn't have that. Now, so we come to the first minor little problem. But anyway, the layout's good. Okay, so I can get this. Let me just tip it so you can see it. I can get this. I pop that into there. Holes all line up. It's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. The only problem is if you look at it from that angle, can you see that gap? What's happened is I hadn't taken into account. If you look at these LEDs, and again I do this for more education for people. If you look at this, let's go finger at this end. Can you see the slight lift at the end of the plastic? I thought they would have carried on straight through, but they don't. They got like a lip, and I literally made the holes for the size of the LED, so it was smooth. You know, it was as neat as possible. But of course they won't go in, so I've got to modify that. I don't know whether I'm going to change this. I might just make spaces and then just have these sitting up in the air and then do it for the next version. But anyway, they do go in there nicely. If you see them from the front, you can see the colours, and once they're on, they're going to look really good. I'm really pleased with the way it looks, and then the writing just makes it look really neat and tidy. You may notice I've put a little message here. Let me just get it on the actual lens. 16 memory of J minor, father of the Amiga. Oh, it's just a little comment. So yeah, front end. So the reason for the way I've done this is because there's going to be multiple versions of these panels. And if I turn this over, it's a bit tricky doing, isn't holding it and so on. But now pretend there's a tab on the bottom because it's supposed to be. But basically, you slide that into there, and that pushes into that tab there. Now, obviously, when there's two of them, they'll be held perfectly, and then you screw them in. And then when you look at the sides, it actually fits really nicely. I'm really pleased with that, and it just finishes in line. Now, you're going to say, well, why is it black, Steve? Well, I wanted the first prototype mainly for the videos and so on, because obviously black looks really cool. And I can do the small ones in black, but I'm really lucky actually, because I was worried I might have to do the front plate in two pieces and then stick it together. But they could do white ones in this bigger size, which is fantastic. The print area is enormous, so that's meant I could do that. But of course, it's white. Now I'm going to probably get it sprayed. I've got to decide on what the best kind of paint for it is, and which I've got to do some experimentation. But I've got another printed box that I'm going to experiment with and see how that works out. But yeah, so they go in there, and of course this one here is a standard floppy. So if I grab a floppy disk, yeah. Now they're very. In fact, I'll tell you what. Let me take it out of there. It's actually quite hard to hold all three bits together. Here we go. Let's turn it around the right way. It is actually quite snug. It's a very snug fit. I may loosen it off a bit, but then again, it is actually quite nice being snug because it doesn't let too much light around it. There you go. So there's your floppy disk, goes in there. Okay. God knows what that was. It's like magic sound, wasn't it? And then, of course, if you've got something like one of these, which is a multi-card reader, you see, that goes in there nicely on the front. And of course, you might want to put in, obviously, a 5 1/4. Now, you can thank Brielle for this. She said, you've got to do a 5 1/4 inch drive band. Oh no, that means changing the whole design of the front. But I think she was right, actually. And then you can, again, it's very hard for me to try and show you this, but if you pop that in and just don't push it right to the front, it does look quite nice in there. You kind of put it set back a bit so it's in line with the back edge of the other card. But of course you can get 5 1/4, any 5 1/4 inch drive device in there. While I'm doing the video, let me show you this as well. Now, the original Checkmate 1500 was for the 500, and we had an adapter, but it was never as good as this. This is a much nicer one. This has been done by Rob Cranley again, who did the LED board again. Yeah, he's done a fantastic job on this. I mean, it's the same design basically, but the only difference is, I mean, with the original cards that I used to use, we had one or the other. But we've got both on here because we've actually got a bit more height than the original 1500 as well. So we've got an 86 pin connector. Now you do have to run this little card. Okay, it's a double-edged connector with nice gold connectors. Okay, you do have to put that in there, and then you can plug in things like your ACA 500 plus. You can plug in the Witchers. I mean, even an A590 could plug into that. Although to be honest, they're so valuable now, I wouldn't take it out of the case. In the old days, we used to take them apart and didn't care, but nowadays they're worth a packet. And then obviously in this here is a 100 pin Zorro slot. Now I think the key thing, these bits down here, there's you can see there's a power switch, the connector. I think these two chips, I'm probably completely wrong, for giving the a negative voltage. I don't want to give wrong information, but that'll be up on the website. He did tell me what it was, and I forgot. I think it was -5, but I could be wrong. There's a component here, but I'm not. That's why I don't do it. I'm not an electronics engineer. But what I was going to show you was this. Now this is the secret, I think, which we never had on the original board, on the original Checkmate 1500. And I always wanted an internal power supply, but it just wasn't possible then. But now, what with the SFX power supplies. In fact, hold on a second. I might as well no, actually, it's pointless. There's no need to. Is it out of focus? Okay. You can just plug in the ATX power connector into there. Run a switch from here to the front on the button on the front, which you've probably seen. The button's going to go in there, and then you power your whole machine. So I think this has got great potential. And I think it's going to be a really nice little boy. It's going to be, you know, I mean, I've always, one of my favourites is 1000, but I mean, I always liked the 500 because if you took it to pieces, you could do so much with them, which is what we did in the old days. So, yeah, that's, I think it's a lovely board, that. Nice and neat, nice colour. It's just really, and his soldering's brilliant as well. But yeah, no, I'm really pleased with that. So there you go. So the new front, which I'm really pleased. Oh, let's a couple more things. Obviously, while I've got it here. So we've got this here. Now, there's going to be various ways of doing this. I'm going to, inside the case, which you'll see when I do the case, there's a place to mount a little adapter, which is like a 90-degree bend up, and then you can put ports on the front. So you can have ports at the front there, various types. There won't be anything standard, and probably, if anything, it'll be empty. But there'll be lots of options coming along for that. Now, for me, I'm going to do a VRPC with it, which means I want an HDMI and a couple of USB ports, and maybe, or you might want to put a compact flash card at the front. There's so many things you can do. Maybe, I don't think you get joystick ports in there. No, I'm pretty sure you won't. But you know, there's lots of options in there. The ventilation doesn't really matter on an Amiga, but if you're building a PC with it, then that's actually pretty useful. You want to get as much air as you can flowing through the front and being sucked out the back. So let's go in here. You can see I've had to remove a lot of material out, so there's a lot of holes made out of it. But if you see this slot at the top, the very top, that's where the case lip. So the case, in theory, will come flush with the top, but then there's a lip that goes down and drops into that slot. And the reason for that is so that when you push on the lid, it's being supported by all this material. And it should be make it nice and strong. In fact, it doesn't have to. It's only the slight bend in the front that you stop in. The real strength will be in the rear, the sides of the case and the rear of the case. So you should be able to put quite a heavy monitor on the top. And then, of course, when you fix the base on this, there's a screw here, and duplicated over this side. Screw hole there and there, and then there's these tiny ones. And this is the interesting one. These tiny little holes, two there and two there. They may actually be too small, actually, but I have found screws that will go into it, but they can only be something like 5mm because I've got these gaps. So there's only about 4 or 5mm space, but it's only really just to pin the base and hold it in. So I think it'll be fine. But that's part of the reason for doing the prototyping. This hole up here is actually for a stress bar that comes across from the rear of the case to the front, and it's bolted into there, and then that's a support for a PCI Express graphics card. So yeah, as I said, quite a lot of thought going to. Oh, another thing down here, see the little slots, one there and one there, and that's going to be the plan is to make a piece of dustproof material in a little plastic frame that goes across the whole length of the thing and stops dust coming in. A dust filter is the phrase I think I was really looking for. But yeah, so I'm quite pleased with it, actually. It's nice to actually physically hold the thing, but I think it looks quite nice. So once it's all the same colour, because the case that's coming is black. To answer some people's questions, I am doing. I'm not. The idea was always to do a white case. Now, it's not going to be white, because doing a white case would be stupid, I think, because most of your monitors have probably gone a little bit beige with age. So it's going to be kind of a cream colour case, but I'm only going to do a small batch. Now, at the moment, probably only going to make 50 cases with the Kickstarter that are white. And if I do more, then it'll be done in batches, and we'll have to do them on an order basis. Once we've got enough orders, then we'll make them, and then we'll build people for them. But for the Kickstarter, unless there's a huge amount of demand for it, because it'll be an option, unless there's a huge demand, then I'll obviously make to fulfill the orders and just a handful over the top. Someone did ask me, can I have a yellow case? It took me a couple of messages before I realised I think he was taking the mickey. But yeah, so I was being all serious. No, I don't want a yellow one. But his comment was, well, yeah, but then people can retro bright it and it'd be really cool. But yeah, there you go. So I missed out on that one. Anyway, that's it really. I hope you like it. And I will speak to you soon. Bye.